What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the 5 days of Melee content panel. We've got a spicy one for you. As you can see, we have a whole bunch of awesome panelists here. We're going to get started introducing them. I'll tee it up for them, and then they can tell you, what they've got going on in terms of the world of content. And we'll start down the line with the constant through the 2000s, the 2010s, and now into the 2020s. If you've seen any Melee content, chances are Mr. Hugs86 has had a hand in it. How's it going, Hugo?
Hey, it's going great, man. I guess what I'm gonna talk about my content or what I do.
Yeah.
Or
Just
yeah,
what do you got
okay.
going
So
on?
I've been streaming for close to 6 years now. Just started kind of grinding YouTube and just kind of trying to branch out into every platform possible except for TikTok. I think I'm just too old for that shit. Yeah.
You'll get there someday. I believe in it. I feel like the Zoomers have got something really nice cooking up over there. But
Yeah.
all right, we've got one of the best storytellers that Melee has to offer. Absolutely, his videos are dynamic and technically impressive. He does just about every kind of Melee video that you could possibly imagine, including podcasts. We got turned down for Walt here. How's it going, Walt?
What's up, Mikey? Thanks for having me on the panel. Really excited for all of this. And yeah, I mean, like what I do, I've been kind of involved in Melee for quite a bit, but content has been mostly the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 years or so. And it's been kind of like everything you can imagine, just kind of enjoying the ride and having fun with it and trying to stream more too. So, Hugo, I got to talk to you about that at some point. But
Sure. Hmm.
Right on. And then, I've always thought that Melee is sort of built on finding little cool things and sharing them with your friends, sort of like lying that Sonic is in the game. And I think nobody sort of personifies the little idiosyncrasies of Melee quite as well as Awesome Sauce does. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up? Glad to be on here. Thank you guys for having me. I've been making Melee content since 2016. Started out making highlights. I got demonetized by YouTube, so I was forced to move on. Started making videos showcasing glitches and just weird oddities about the game.
Fantastic. And then last but not least, we've got our YouTubers here and we've got our streamers, and I know that that you make combo videos as well, so you're not just confined to the timeline, but I think there is something that's just so great and so pure about that short form content, just those memes that hit super hard in the 30-second time period that you have people's attention on Twitter. We've got Dark Gen X here as well.
Much love. Thanks for the intro. Like everyone else, super glad to be here. I'm from Dark Gen X. I started playing Melee in 2016. Like my content, I've been pretty new to the scene in terms of making content. I started making content like on Twitter in May 2020, and it's mostly like short form stuff. I've made a couple of combo videos, like the Giga Bowser combo video, which I submitted to Ludwig's contest, and then a handful of Twitter memes that kind of went off. So just glad to be here. Glad people like my stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Glad to have you guys all here. And then I'm the cheat. I'll be the moderator for our discussion tonight. I'm kind of a Melee content newbie in a way as well. So I feel like a lot of you guys out there, I'm going to be listening with an intent ear for stuff that I can pick up and learn from these guys that we have on the panel here. And I do think that I want to take sort of more of a community angle here tonight, given that this is sort of like the 5 days of Melee, and that's sort of front of mind for people as we're, going into this sort of uncertain era of playing online, dealing with our sort of absent father in a way. But I do kind of want to go back to your guys' origins, and in particular, I want to talk to Awesome Sauce and Walt here to start things off, because I think for most people, the road to competitive Melee like firmly goes through YouTube, like almost all of the time. And you guys, like you've mentioned, have only been in the game for a couple of years now, and you've seen sort of early success, getting big numbers on your YouTube videos, obviously. And I think that people who find content through YouTube end up being involved in the community, and then those people end up being figureheads. That's sort of the pipeline, at least in terms of how I've seen it for Melee content. So I'm curious what your guys' journeys are through competitive Melee. What content got you into the scene? What tournaments did you go to when you were getting into it? And I guess we'll start with Awesome Sauce, because we're actually from the same region. Awesome
Yeah.
Sauce. You're from Tucson, right?
I was born in Anchorage, Alaska, and I moved to Tucson in June or July of 2016.
Right on. I do.
So
Well, I
I
do
spent
have
most of
to.
my life in colder regions.
Right on. I do have to give you the customary greeting from our community of fuck Tucson. So welcome to the panel. So
Thank you.
So yeah, walk me through what your what your early Melee experiences were like in terms of like the content that you were consuming. You know, what tournaments were you going to when you first got into things?
So in 2015, I just started getting a bunch of GR Smash videos in my recommended. Was instantly hooked on every single one. I've probably watched hundreds of GR Smash videos at this point. And starting out making content, I was like, hey, this guy's doing it with all the Smash games. He's doing it with Smash 4, which was the most recent game at the time, Melee, PM, and sometimes Smash 64. So I thought, I can do this with just Melee, which was the game that really caught my eye among those games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
So-
absolutely. I do think that that's a keen sort of insight there is that for so many of us who came into the scene around that time, myself included, it was very like, it was almost sort of like a multi-game community for us, at least. Like we didn't really have the same preconceived notions of like the divisions between the Brawl and Melee communities at the time. And I know that I personally got involved and first started playing PM. And like the big reason that I started paying attention to Smash in the first place was on like Smash Reddit during the Smash 4 era. So like I think for a lot of people it's sort of been kind of specializing on Melee through roots in other games, and I'm actually glad that Project M is starting to like come back around and get sort of like the dues that it deserves in that regard. And they're part of this. They're part of this this streamathon that we got going on here also. So
Nice.
Yes, they are.
yeah, really
Absolutely.
glad to be bringing PM back into the fold on sort of a grander scale. I'll turn it over to Walt. Same question. What sort of content got you into the scene? What sort of tournaments were you going to when you first got started out?
Yeah, so you're gonna smile actually when you mentioned that when I mentioned this because I recall that you are one half of Random Forward Smash.
That's true.
Um,
Yeah.
So for me, the start of I mean I've been watching and consuming Melee I think for a long time, probably well before the documentary came out. Just as a kind of spectator of the game. Didn't really go to a lot of events until I went to like more local scene things at the University of South Carolina, where I went to school around like 2012, 2013. After that, my first like real quote unquote tournament was Melee FC Return. I think that was the one that Leffen four-stocked Armada in like a Fox Ditto or something like that. Which was cool. I went under a different tag back then, which no one will ever know. And and then the real first tournament I went to under this alias was the Big House 8, which was actually pretty recently. So it's kind of strange to think about. But the reason that I think you're going to enjoy this is because the thing that actually got me into content was Harmony by Ninja. It was watching that video where I saw kind of like, for me, it was almost kind of like a untapped market of like, there are combo videos and there are montages, but the things that Ninja were doing felt so ahead of the meta in that area, where it kind of resembled a lot of League of Legends content, FPS content, which is all stuff that I watched leading into starting the channel. So basically kind of my origin was, oh, this is sick. Let me try to bring in elements that all of these other competitive games have within their content and just kind of like yoink those and put them in Melee and see if it sticks.
Yeah,
So,
I gotta say, I love a Steven Barron shout out, so really appreciate that.
absolutely. I love that guy. He's
Yeah.
amazing.
And yeah, I mean, he obviously came from the Call of Duty scene. And I think that's kind of where a lot of, especially sort of the new wave of Melee folks have come from, sort of trying to up the game of Melee content by borrowing from what they've seen from other communities, which has given us, just a wealth of like really cool combo videos in particular, but also like montages of players. Right on. So, I think that's also another good point, being that you've kind of been new to like being in the community from a competitive standpoint and stuff, because I think that um, a lot of the Melee community, because it's so grassroots and so participatory, encourages people to sort of wear a lot of hats when they're within the community. And I really do think that like Dark Gen X and Hugs are great examples of this. And I'll start with Dark Gen X because you've been a power ranked player in New York City. You're a TO for Hax's Nightclub and a whole bunch of these online tournaments that are happening right now. Obviously a Giga Bowser extraordinaire, Ice Climber cosplayer. Do you think that the capacity to do stuff like that is something that's attractive about the Melee community, beyond just a reminder that we're as poor as we are?
Well, absolutely. I think that's one of the beauties of Melee is that, like, gameplay wise, it feels like you can do whatever you want. And I think that extends to content as well. It's like there are people who are making like the most crazy like task videos, like practical TAS, so, like Lotfi, such. Like they can make the characters do like these crazy intricate things, and like they've built their like names and such off of doing that. There's people like I Love Army Woo who build their brand off of wobbling people on unranked and saying, let's go Army Woo every single day. Like, I think that's something that's really nice about Melee is that because of how grassroots it is and because of how diverse the content that exists for it feels like people can pretty much make whatever they want out of the game and use the game is an outlet for their own creativity.
That really reminds me of
that about the game.
Yeah, that really reminds me of something that Ipengu told me. He actually, I think, wrote a thesis on sort of the accessibility of esports as a concept, and he mentioned that like, if you're watching tennis and you're watching like, Roger Federer play, it's such like a fluid and unconscious process that like if you tried to replicate what Roger Federer does, even if you're like as cut and as athletic as he is, like you'll just never be able to do it because of how like ingrained it is with him. But I think one thing that's really cool about esports content, and especially Melee, just because of the nature of how sick the gameplay is that you can watch a Melee combo and with like a little bit of prior knowledge know exactly what happened to produce that combo within like 5 minutes. It's like instantaneous. So I think that really inspires people, sort of the drive to like replicate it. It feels like much more accessible to them because they know exactly what's happening and all of the inputs to do what, even the best players in the world do. So I think that's a really great answer. Hugs, you are one of the top players who I think has really exemplified the idea that creating content has to be part of your job. And I think, I don't want to be presumptive here, but I think if I told you that in like 2005, you probably would have like shit a brick or something. Can you kind of walk me through the thought process of like realizing that would be something that would be, important to your presence in the community?
Yeah, I think so. From my perspective, playing for as long as I have, at a certain point, you realize that this is going to be a really hard living because Nintendo is shitty.
Right.
But so the idea of content came to me as an act of necessity at first, just because I knew that just playing wasn't going to be enough. Even if I was number one in the world, that's not something you could maintain forever, unless you put everything into it. So I decided to diversify and just excel at different things within the community. Like you said, the community is this type of place that lets you shine in a lot of different ways, whether that be memes on Twitter or memes on Twitch or just however you want to do your content. But then as it started, I started to enjoy it because I found it as an outlet for me to express my humor and just pretty much I try not to make anything that I don't like myself. I don't know if other people will like it, but as long as I find it entertaining, that's what I'm doing, because it is an outlet for me. And if other people are vibing with it, then that's helping me expand outside of just being a player. And now I have this community in my content that I could also focus on growing. And I guess to me, it's kind of the same thing as trying to be a competitor, right? You do it because you like it and you have fun with competing. And it should be the same way with content. I would not do it unless I had fun doing things that I enjoy myself. So that's kind of how I looked at the whole thing.
Yeah, I really do think that Melee, you guys are right. It lets it be accessible in a way that it is not in almost anything in the world almost. And I think we think a lot about how that's the case because our tournaments are open entry. You're in the same bracket as the best players in the world. But I don't think it's often that, top competitors in anything are actually involved in like the production of of their content, So I think that Melee is, to me, full of people who kind of wanted to always be doing like cool stuff with their friends when they were kids. I don't know if you guys feel that way, but that's how I was as a kid. And I think like within a lot of Melee content creators sort of lives that kid who wants to be, have all their fingers in all these different pies of cool stuff that's going on within the community. So I think
Definitely
Melee is fantastic as sort of an outlet for that sort of thing. So now I guess we'll open up the floor because obviously it's been a landmark last couple of weeks for Melee. And I think a lot of it centers around folks like you guys who are sort of leading the conversation about where the Melee community goes from here, sort of striking it out on our own, it seems like. And I think that's fantastic. I think a lot of noise being made about this sort of thing is really good. It's really all that we can do to just, be vocal about our community. So just as an open question, I'm curious to like what keeps you guys engaged in Melee that makes it worth sharing in the ways that you guys do.
For me, making my my weirdo, like showing off stuff about the game, it's just that there's always more weird stuff to find in Melee. There's always more weird stuff to show off, and people are always going to be interested in it, partly because of the stigma that Melee has, that it is so weird and buggy and just weird. And just knowing that people are going to be interested in that, it motivates me to keep going, keep finding new stuff, and like especially super obscure stuff. Like I did a bunch of original research on one of my more recent videos about the lost trophies. I'm not sure if any of you guys saw that, but I was Googling like just crazy ass Japanese phrases that I didn't even know what they meant, but I saw on web pages that were talking about how to get the trophies from like 2001 or 2002. So it's just constantly pushing myself to find more weird stuff about the game and showing it to people.
I really
I
do.
think,
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say,
I was gonna say, Boss, I actually brought this up on my podcast last week too. I'm incredibly jealous because what you do on YouTube has captured like the perfect audience of people between the people who are diehard Melee fans and are like really into the game, and then the people who don't know fucking anything about Melee. Yeah. And all of them find it interesting in their own way. I think kind of like going off of that description that you gave, it's kind of like, for me, the game is like, I enjoy making content in any variety. So it's like I have a camera, I go around and I film, I do travel stuff, I do cooking videos, like whatever. None of those are as successful as what I do on Melee, and that's obviously great. But I think for me, it's kind of like Melee is the canvas of what is able to be created. So it's kind of like, how can I frame something that is new that I'm excited to put into the world and share with an audience in a way that kind of wraps this game that I love into it. And I mean, just hearing Sauce explain that, I'm kind of like, holy shit, I think we're exactly the same when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah, I was having a discussion with somebody on my stream about like they felt like there was something missing in Rivals of Aether, the game that they like primarily play competitively. And I think it might just be that like intangible factor that Melee just keeps on giving.
Yeah,
it's crazy how people are just discovering new stuff all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I also in that sense, I think content is important, because I look at Melee kind of like an ecosystem. Like, you have the sick gameplay, right? But then you need people to be talking about it, and then you need that conversation to spread, and you need to have this video to look at, or here's what this top player thinks about it, and then here's this YouTuber who has something to say about what this top player thinks about it. And like it's these conversations and this I think it's an important piece of this ecosystem that we have that maintains a lot of interest in this ancient game that we have. Everyone says like, Melee is an amazing game and that's why it succeeds, and that's largely true, but it still needs the support of the community and the interest of the community to keep it going and to see set new eyes on it, and that's what content does for sure.
Completely agreed with that. And it's like, if you look in the last like couple of weeks with the whole free Melee thing, like a lot of the people who are tweeting and like talking about, free Melee and the big house and all of that stuff, a lot of them don't play Melee, but they supported us because the content that we were producing is able to reach those people because of how much it's shared, because of the community talking and having those conversations. And it's like a lot of like Melee's survival is it's pretty much because of the conversations that we keep having and the content that's being produced. And I don't know if we would be as successful with like getting like the word of Melee out there if it weren't for things that people are producing to talk about how much they love the game.
Absolutely.
Isn't that so cool to think about? Like how like I actually was talking with Radar SSBM, another YouTuber, about it, and he said, "quote We as a community are very strong right now," and it's kind of like he said like that's not. I don't mean it in like a anime shit kind of way, but it's just like there's so much that this community is capable of, not only within the circle of what we do, but just kind of like Hugo said, it's like it's the ecosystem, it's the circle of life of players, people who are there to talk about it, people who are there to circulate content and kind of keep that interest there.
And TOs.
It's really amazing. Yeah, TOs too. Respect your
Definitely
TOs, seriously.
It kind of
it all works
sucks.
together.
It kind of sucks because like the more we get kicked around, it seems like the better things go for us. And I think if you didn't believe that after Apex 2015, you probably absolutely believe it now. It's crazy. But we're like roaches, We just
I was gonna say Saiyans, but
there you go. Yeah,
we can say roaches.
Yeah, absolutely crazy how we just persist through all this stuff. And I really do think ultimately that even though it's a lot of like honestly vitriolic sentiment that people have been having about about getting C&D'd and all that stuff, like ultimately it's gonna make us stronger. Like I don't see that there's any bad that can come from us like being passionate about our game and loving it so much that we don't want it to die. That's what we've been doing forever, and I think that's what we're gonna keep doing.
Also, the memes are fire, so
oh boy,
memes are the most powerful currency on the internet. So.
Yeah, Gen X, your stonks are going up right now.
Yeah.
My stonk. Someone in this call has 100K plus on a tweet about free Melee.
Oh yeah, true.
Wait, really?
Biggest...
I
Yeah,
didn't
it
see
was.
that tweet.
Oh hell yeah!
It was just a meme about Nintendo hating Smash fans. It was. It's probably my biggest tweet, but
Over
You
100K.
made it, dude.
yeah, and it's like
how didn't I see that? That's
It's like-
crazy.
I don't personally care. What I'm happy about is that that many faces saw someone hating Nintendo and then seeing the comments of people supporting that, and it's just like you can't. That's like millions and millions of people who just got word of Nintendo being shitty, and I think that's great.
You really changed the perception of like some Fire Emblem fan out there,
Somebody, yeah, like one person decided to read the comments. Are like, oh, this is actually really fucked up, and they just started hopping on the cause. So that's dope.
Fantastic.
Sort of
Maybe
piggyback off of that.
streamer is not the position for you. Maybe you should be like social change worker kind of guy.
No.
You just start making memes that flip the script on these big corporations. So,
No, I'll stick to my day job.
I was going to save chat questions for the end, but I feel like the segue is too good here because we did have a chat question from Zen_comms who asked, how would you get the most likes/retweets out of the group in 24 hours? And I would like to hear each of your strategies for this, please.
well, let's start with the big gunner here. Go ahead and go.
Dude, I think the most likes and retweets come from relatability. So if you could hit something that's funny and relatable, and they don't know it's relatable, they just feel like it's relatable, then that's how you get money.
Hugo, I'm picking up what you're putting down here, and you have been farming fast food content for too fucking long, man.
Oh,
You gotta
wow.
branch out a
That
little
has-
bit.
That has nothing to do with farming. That's just my passion. I told you already. I
Oh
make
my
content
God.
for things that I enjoy.
Sure.
And I enjoy In and Out fries, so that's why I talk about
I
it.
bought your-
I know.
I
I probably
can't-
lose followers.
I can't believe that I bought your answer earlier. You absolute shill.
I swear.
Dark
What
Gen
about
X, give,
man?
yeah.
You're the one hitting
Sure.
the fire Twitter memes nonstop. You were
So-
on like my greatest tweets of all time.
The greatest tweets of all time.
Multiple considerations, yeah.
Much appreciated. So aside from saying like I'm giving away $10,000 retweeting like for a chance to win, the best way I think that you could get, I guess, retweets and like interaction stuff. Something I found pretty successful is like subverting expectations with the tweets. So like with the Baka Mitai Mewtwo King tweet where it's like Mewtwo King singing as he's getting wobbled, with the buzzer beater where the kid is crying after getting wobbled, and he turns into the Reddit logo. It's like a lot of the setup, there's like a setup to it. And it's like if you reveal the punchline too quickly, I feel that it's like if you reveal too late, no one's gonna watch till the end because 30 seconds, you got a little bit of a very limited time frame. But if you subvert expectations like fast enough, I think there's a high payoff.
You
That's what I
know,
would do.
I did not think that we would mention Baka Mitai on this call here, but I'm really glad that we've gone there. That's absolutely fantastic. Awesome
Gonna
sauce.
say I'm a little salty because I made the chillin' Bakamitai, and then I think Gen X, you made the Mewtwo King one that just blew mine the fuck out of the water in like a day, and I was just like, oh, this is so good. I'm still
Dude,
gonna
there-
retweet it though. Like,
There's always like little tweaks that you can make to certain tweets that
Oh,
will
yeah.
just like elevate them.
Yeah,
And that's
I'm-
like something you learn as you take Twitter more seriously, which is I think is always silly. Like I know Slime hates that kind of shit, but if
Yeah.
it's your job, like you should kind of care a little bit about how your Twitter like operates.
Yeah, like I'm telling you, if you change the B in Baka Mitai to the B button for the Chillin' Dude one,
Oh, dude, that's crazy.
exponential growth. Exponential.
Fire.
Insane.
That would have been a banger tweet about 3 months ago. You should have done that.
All right, Awesome
Robert,
Sauce,
I'm
what's
ready.
the plan here? How are we getting the clout? That's what it's all about, right?
Definitely. Twitter isn't my thing, so I honestly have no idea. I would probably just
same.
piggyback off of what Hugs and Gen X said.
Riding coattails for
Same.
clout. That's another really big part of it. So absolutely fantastic. Okay. Um, so we've talked about sort of how Melee, it just keeps giving. People just keep finding really cool shit about it. But I have to imagine that there have been some challenges in making content for a game that's a literal fossil. And I've kind of, over the years, like encountered this myself. Like I made I changed all of the textures in Dreamland to be green so I could have a Melee green screen. So I think a lot of
I
work
did
has
the
been
same
done.
thing.
Yeah. A lot of like very scuffed work I think has been done over the years. Do you guys have any stories of any challenges that you've had when making content for Melee in particular?
Getting
got a
20xx to work for
yeah,
any kind of video that requires frame by frame precision is just insane. And
yeah. I can tell you the frame data series on my channel. I still just count frames on YouTube to do that, and I fucking hate it. So it's like, but please
Insane.
stop asking me to make them.
Hax
And,
told me since day one that I met him that I would need to learn how to use the debug mode to go frame by frame and get everything like perfect and learn how to play the game. And then when I made my first combo video, I had to learn how to use debug mode to just change a camera angle. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in Melee.
Yeah.
Like, it's important, but like that's probably something that'll be pretty challenging.
Hey, the joke's not all on us because 3 sequels later and you still can't do it in a Smash game,
True.
I was just gonna say I don't make content like that, so I don't have to work with the scuffness of the game. So I just
You
kinda
made
talk
it.
about it.
Once you have an editor, once you have an Echo Storm in the back pocket who's just trapping,
Oh, yeah.
getting out content on the daily, that's when you've
Seriously,
made
my
it.
Oh yeah, he works hard, man. He works for sure.
All right. So I don't think we can have a discussion about Melee content without talking about the documentary. And full disclosure, we're actually recording this before Metagame comes out. So, by the time this airs, we'll have probably all seen at least part of Metagame. But we haven't seen it yet. So what I'd like to talk about is sort of what your guys' take is on the documentary and why it was so effective in drawing people in. I know, Hugo, you did a panel with Wife and Samox back at SmashCon 2016. You mentioned that Samox was the best interview that you've ever had at that point. Is that still true? And does that play a factor, you think?
Yeah, no. When I got asked to do the documentary, I thought it was just some shitter from college who was just doing a college project. But back then, Melee had nothing, so I was like, yeah, sure. Anybody ask me for anything, I'll do it. So he asked for this interview, and I just went and did it. And he's a really good interviewer because he makes you feel like you just want to talk to him. He's got a very soothing voice, and he makes the relationship feel open. You're like, I trust this guy. I'm gonna tell him everything I know. And I think that's what made the documentary great. What I think led to the blow up, though, wasn't necessarily that it like the greatness of the documentary helps, but I think what really captivated people was that they were able to if they had brand new eyes for the game, and then they saw like someone like Mango or Mewtwo, right? They're like, this is cool. I played Smash and I relate to this game, and this documentary, I relate to it. But now that I'm aware of Mango and Mewtwo, how about I watch them play some matches? And then you watch someone like Mango play, and then you're like, holy shit, I love this game. I love this player. I'm in, right? And I think that those steps of connection is what really allowed this whole community to blow up because of the documentary.
Yeah, it almost is like a cliffhanger. It does explain like why people are still doing this, but it sort of like leaves you wondering, And I think it does funnel people in there in a really sort of intuitive way. We kind of went through this, but raise your hand on the call if you would classify yourself as a doc kid. Yeah. So there you go. I think that's something that's actually like kind of amazing about where the Melee community is at now, and that so many like important people kind of came through that one piece of content, I was talking with I was in a Discord, and we were talking about all of the tournaments that are run by doc kids now, which includes like Shine, Smash Summit, Full Bloom, Smash Camp, Haxus Nightclub for one, kind of, right? So like it really is, I think, kind of like the core message of making Melee content, that it's like, this is something that like needs to be shared with other people. Like everything about our community is something that needs to be shared with other people. And like, it's so accessible, it's something that like, if you really want to just like throw yourself out there and like be a commentator or be a tournament organizer or be a content creator, like there are like very few barriers, I think, from stopping you to do that. So it's just crazy like how almost like just integral to the scene doc kids have become, not just from being like pot fillers anymore, but actually like,
well, now we have tadpoles now, right? That's the new
yeah
term.
yeah it is actually crazy. Like
I heard it on Reddit.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's weird, like being somebody who, I would go to locals like every week, and it really does baffle you when you like see kids who, you've never seen before start to come up. And then like we have this kid Floats in Arizona who started playing in like 2017, and like within the first year of playing, he like beat Forward. This was actually on a BTS little mini doc that they did about our scene. They actually came to the tournament where he beat Forward, and it was just like,
jeez.
he has
was it locals Arizona? Is
yeah
that the video?
yeah
I love that video.
And Forward has this segment in there where he's just like, yeah, it's really different from like being one of the best players in the world in 2007 to losing to somebody you've never heard of before. So it's crazy how the come up can happen in Melee, for real.
Yeah.
What's so cool is that all the people, like even that person is probably like younger than the game too, or a lot of people are who are coming on, especially the doc kids. And like when it comes back to Samox and his role in the community. First off, Samox is just this incredibly talented individual, just full stop on that. But I think that what Hugo said about like just making it accessible and people kind of can like go down the rabbit hole of Melee content is
Yeah.
enormous. The
It's a
thing that
rabbit
I
hole.
thought of, yeah, the thing that I thought of when Hugo was saying that was actually similarly the implications of the Wombo combo, because I remember Zoo was actually talking about that also, and he said when that came out and that started blowing up, he was like, you know, the thing about the Wombo combo that's really interesting to me isn't the fact that I got my ass beat. It's kind of like you're gonna watch that video, you're gonna say, "Oh, this is sick," and then you're gonna see the recommended videos on the side, and be like, "Wow, like there's a lot more to this than just this one clip. Like, let's take a look. Let's have at it."
Yeah. I can only imagine that, you know, is going to be like a million times more powerful given how, you know, how the YouTube algorithm works now.
Yeah.
So like, I don't really know what like the rollout plan is for Metagame. I know it's premiering on Twitch, but does anyone know like if it's going to be on YouTube at some point?
I think he
believe
said
it's
it
going
is.
to be
Okay.
yeah, it's 3 episodes a day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We actually have a segment. I think we're going off for this panel on Wednesday, and then the next day we're actually going to be having Samox on the stream to discuss kind of a few clips from Metagame, go over it with a pretty star-studded cast of React dandies, and yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. I'm sure it's going to be distributed to YouTube and whatnot very quickly as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm really excited to see it.
Absolutely. It kind of feels like, man, it really sort of has been like forever that we've been waiting on it to come out and, you know, to sort of like see the effect that it'll have on our community. So, you know,
For sure.
obviously for a number of reasons, big week for us, you know?
Yeah. I think
I
the
saw
timing
the,
is so good.
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah,
the
we were
teaser
saying the
for,
other week, isn't it like crazy how all this bad shit happens to the community and then we have just the most fortuitous, serendipitous timing of like, oh, Samox is just gonna release this like 9-hour documentary and call it a day, and we're just like,
This is the
all
second
right,
time.
let's do
too.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
it's just crazy, man.
and now it's so easy to just get on and play anyone you want because of Slippy and
Yeah.
Rollback. So it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
even easier to get into the
Oh
game.
yeah. Yeah, true.
I love not having to talk to people to play Melee, dude. It feels so good. It's fantastic. My most liked tweet now is I made this little shitty MS Paint graphic that was like the 3 horsemen of Melee Renaissances, and on one side it's like Evo 2013, the documentary, and Project M is like the tournament that gets canceled, the Sandbox documentary, and the release that's cooler than like the Nintendo base product. And then in 2020 we have like Metagame, Big House, and Slippy. It's just like it's perfect.
Nice. Nice.
It's true.
That's your most liked tweet? It's not the one of absent Page taking a bong rip after meditating? It's
Wasn't
not
me.
that one? Didn't you write that one?
Was not me, but
Are you sure?
was
I'm
it
gonna look
the
it up. I think it was you.
I don't remember. You know
Okay.
what? Maybe I was
I'll
so
find
high that
I swear it was you, man.
just
I'm gonna find it.
slipped into the back of my mind. No, my second most liked tweet is actually just, I think Ham Yojo actually bought this cake, but I just found it somewhere on the internet. It's just a cake that says "fuck Luigi" on it, which is really fantastic.
That's great. Nice.
It's
It's
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah. While you look that up, we will go ahead and move into some more viewer questions that we've got here. Cypher003 asks, who is on your Mount Rushmore of Smash content creators? And you may include yourselves on there if you want to. And we'll start with Awesome Sauce.
Oh man, going back to the last question, of course, Samox. Samox is definitely on there.
He's Samox.
Second, probably GR Smash. GR Smash is super accessible. GR Smash must have gotten at least like, man, 100,000 plus people into the game.
Mhm.
Third, you know what? I'm gonna ask a stupid question. How many people are on Mount Rushmore?
4.
Four, right?
Yeah,
4.
there's 4 of them.
Third, Smash overall, right, or just Melee?
Smash.
Yeah, we'll go Smash
Oh,
overall.
man.
Why not?
Okay. Third, Alpharad. Alpharad also has a
Mm.
huge audience. He must have gotten tons and tons of people into the game as well. And fourth, oh man, that's a hard
Say it,
one.
man. We know it's you.
Yeah, it's me. It's me.
There you go. Fantastic. A beautiful sculpture of Melee's legacy. All right, Dark Gen X, you're up next.
So GR Smash and Samox were the two that were already mentioned. I think at this point Ludwig deserves it. He's done so much for the community. He's made like his name as like one of the biggest streamers on Twitch, and the entire time hasn't forgotten his roots in Melee, kind of spearheading the whole like what is it, LACS 3 with the really big pop bonus and just getting people's attention on the game and such. A bunch of people coming back just to enter that tournament. I think Ludwig deserves a head on the mountain at this point.
You peel away the head, though. You peel away the head, and Raid Shadow Legends is behind it.
And then my fourth one, I think that like content, it's like not same content as like YouTube or Twitch wise, but I think Homemade Waffles are probably my fourth because in general he does like so much for the community. He's like, I don't know how big Melee would be in this general, like in this era of like quarantine and stuff without rollback people. And everything he's done for the community, like hauling around like CRTs and like everywhere and storing them and such like that, and running all these tournaments and being like one of the faces of Melee. I think it should be a face on the mountain too. So that's my four.
Yeah, and yeah, even if you just take into account like the amount of Melee history that has been recorded by him and released onto YouTube, like, yeah, I think he's definitely in the running for a spot on the mountain.
For me, it's GR Smash for sure. Like you all said, accessibility, fire content. Ludwig, because he has become the biggest of us, which I think is really helpful for the community. And he did it in a way that I really, really respect, which is awesome. Like he just kind of stuck true to the same kind of principles I would have for my content, which is he enjoys his own content, and he kind of grew without the toxicity that a lot of people grow with, right? I think my number 3 would be Samox, of course, documentary, huge for the whole scene, and I think Mango also belongs on that list because Mango was the first of us to kind of show the whole community what we could do on Twitch, which was absolutely necessary for us to sustain these kinds of livelihoods, right? Because if that wasn't a thing, then a lot of these top players and a lot of these influencers that we have now that keep the scene going would have just kind of quit and worked at Best Buy or something because we couldn't afford to keep doing this. So, yeah, that would be my 4.
Well, this sucks because now you guys said all the ones that I wanted to say. Being as original as I can here, yeah, I think basically the thing for me is I think that there are different eras of content where like obviously people come and go as they gain or lose interest in the game. I think the biggest thing for me, if you were to put them on like a Mount Rushmore, is kind of like their impact on who they've made this game accessible to. So, I mean, for me, the 4 that are coming to mind immediately are Waffles because of just the incredible impact he had on just from the early days of Melee. He was basically the original VOD guy for all tournament footage until now. Just that's insane because again, you go back to watching videos, seeing stuff on the side, guarantee you some of those were Waffle uploads. It's just crazy. Sauce, you for sure, I think is one because you fill a very interesting niche of like, again, the people that don't know anything about Melee and then the people who really do care about Melee, and I think that's really important. Samox, of course, it goes without saying, he's incredible. He's our avatar. He comes once every 100 years when he thaws out of his ice cube. And I mean, the last one that I'm thinking of, which I don't know for sure if I'd put it on here, but I'm thinking about Hugh on YouTube in terms of just general Smash. I think that he has just brought, in the same vein as GR Smash and all of those other people, he's brought a lot of new faces into the Smash series as a whole. Not necessarily just Melee, but like Ultimate 64, just kind of like showing off really cool things about the game to get people interested. So I would definitely consider him on that list as well.
I actually have 2 that haven't been mentioned yet. One, I think, is Bobby Scar. And I don't necessarily think that his content has been like... I don't know, like that his independent content has been like the most popular or the most accessible to people or anything like that. I think it is very much like, people who love Melee love watching Bobby Scar. Once they're like in the scene for the most part. But I think he has really like influenced a lot of like the cultural vernacular of Melee through the content that he's made and through his commentary. Like, I don't know. I think there are just so many like little bits of Bobby Scar's personality that we as a community have sort of like adopted. He said something on the Healthy Gamer stream where he said that I think Melee is so sick that if anybody is making a problem for somebody else who wants to play Melee, then they have a problem with me. And then he proceeded to say, and that's why I'm a simp for people who want to play Melee, which is so fantastic out of the context of the conversation. But I think that, I don't know, it seems like anytime that Bobby Scar talks, like Melee players stand at attention and listen. At least that's how it is for me. I don't know about you guys, but
he's a walking quote book. Like anything he says can become just like a like written in scripture
absolutely
thing for the scene.
Yeah, one of my other favorites is like from the same game as Walk Up Slowly and Down Smash, like Hacks SDs, and he says that was a clean wave dash back into kill yourself. It's so funny. No one talks about it, but I think that's an amazing commentary bit. And then, am I a homer if I say slime? Like, am I allowed to say slime? I think, like, in terms of the quality of the content, like, I know that, like, not everyone in the scene has the resources of Beyond the Summit behind it, and I would love to see, like, what you guys could do if you did. I know Hugo has been, like, a big part of that, obviously, and a big part of, like, Slime's legacy, I think, with the roast of Hugo. I mean, we'll bring another content creator in here. Alston Melee put that on the top 10 regional tournaments of all time as number 1.
What, the roast?
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, let's go.
For real.
Ludwig had a little mini blow up right after that.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
Not the blow up, but just a little.
Yeah.
Are you taking credit for his
I want to take a little bit because I was drunk at a party at Shine, and I walked up to him and I said, "I want you to be at my roast." And we knew each other, but we weren't like close yet. And so like I told him that, and then he did it, killed it, and then the next day his stream numbers like doubled, which was just not the whole thing, but that was just a little boost.
It wouldn't be the content panel if we didn't mention that 2 of us have been responsible for little mini Ludwig boosts here. Go watch 1.5 Hot, guys. Anyway, but I think Slime on the Scene was very very new in terms of like personality driven Melee content. And even Slime will tell you that he's like, anyone could have done this. Like, there are just like holes in the Melee content scene that he saw and was able to fill one, and I think produce like a really funny result. Nothing will ever top showing Fendrick Lamar explicit horse imagery as revenge for not putting him on commentary. That is a legendary moment in Smash content history. And then, like I mentioned, just all the Beyond the Summit sketches. I think he was kind of like not to gush over somebody who I like know in real life and is a very good friend, but like was very like he was the perfect person to like do the Beyond the Summit sketches. Like the jump in quality they took after he came on board was just stark and pretty fantastic. So I got to give a shout out to my man here.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, we've got one more question. I think it's kind of a nice one to wrap up on. It's from who I just mentioned, actually, Alston Melee, the boys from Massachusetts. Shout out Patty and Cave Lemon and the gang. It's, what piece of content are you most proud of? So I'll start in reverse order from the last question, and we'll go with Walt first.
Gosh, I really wanted some more time on this one. Honestly, I think that the cool thing about doing YouTube for me is that every new piece that comes out is something that I am excited to put into the world. In terms of like, if you put a gun to my head and I had to pick one, I think some of the newer documentary stuff that I was doing, The Curious Case of a Bait versus S2J probably comes to mind, because that was one of the biggest collaboration efforts that I've ever ran. It was kind of like, up until that point, I was kind of flying solo. I'd show videos to some friends and kind of get opinions on it, but it was largely driven by me. For a Bait versus S2J, that was the first time, obviously, going into just kind of 180ing into a new form of content, kind of story-driven documentary content, which I truly enjoy doing. But also working with different artists. Like, I had quick shout outs. I had JDMH on 3D assets for that. B&D Games, who was doing task recreation for me. Dusty, who was creating all my cover art for all of these. Just working with all of these talented people and kind of being able to expand that circle out is something that's really cool to me. And this event of 5 days of Melee as a whole is kind of just like this who's who of that. Exactly. It's just like all of these really talented people that I would love to work with in the future. And I think that video to me is just something that exemplifies that a lot.
Right on. Yeah, I love the format. I gotta say, I'm a huge John Boyce fan. I don't know if you guys are familiar. So, like, storytelling, sort of documentary content, huge fan of, and I think you're doing a really good job with that. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention also the Melee Stats folks, who are sort of working in that vein as well with the recent stuff that they've been putting out. So shout out to them. All right, Hugo, what do you got for us? What have you brought to show to class today?
Also, want to say Alston Melee is doing great stuff with their YouTube. I've been watching a lot of their stuff.
Big fan.
For me, it'd probably have to be an oldie, my multi-tournament conditioning video, which is like, so like none of my content is like my editor does a great job. Echo Storm does an amazing job on my YouTube, but my content is not very produced. It's just kind of what I do live, and then he makes it look a little prettier. But this is from way back when I didn't have anybody working with me, so it was just a straight direct upload for my Twitch. But it was basically the first time that I had an idea in advance. I was at a DreamHack or some event, whatever event I beat SFAT at, and I told Woogie, a friend, Stream Monster, I was like, "Yo, tell me if this shit is funny." And then I just kind of told him what I was going to make fun of Zach about, and he was cracking up. He's like, "Yeah, that shit's funny." I was like, "Okay, I'll just try it." And didn't really have a plan. It was just kind of like the kind of free form content that I like to do, where it's just like, am I going to be funny today? Hopefully I am. And if it hits, then I put it out. And I think that was one of my favorite memes and jokes that has kind of stood the test of time. People still bring it up, even though it's like buried deep, deep, deep in my YouTube. But probably that one.
It's absolutely a nice one. All right, Dark Gen X, over to you.
So, sure. Day one of Free Melee, people were churning out content. People were making tweets, YouTube videos, streaming about it, just continuing the conversation about the whole Free Melee thing. A few days after, I know Walt released that beautiful open letter to Nintendo about that the whole situation. It was incredibly done. And I remember that when it came out, a bunch of people were asking, like, what's going on? And people would be replying with tweet threads about, like, okay, Nintendo's done this, Nintendo's done this, etc., etc. And I thought, like, maybe it would be helpful if there was, like, a very, very, very short video that would just, like, explain really briefly, like, all the ways Nintendo has screwed over, like, Melee, Smash, etc. So I basically speed ran a 45-second video montage of, like, a bunch of ways Nintendo screwed us over, called Nintendo Appreciates the Love and Dedication the Fighting Game Community Has, which is one of it's the first line of their response that they released to, like, reporters who were asking them about it. And it was just a list of, like, Project M, about the whole Big House thing, about, it mentions the circuit, it mentions a couple of other things, UCF with Genesis, stuff like that. And I got the help of, like, a conglomeration of people, like Edwin Budding from Melee Stats, Pudgy Panda, G-Town Tom, and a couple other people. And we were all, like, just working really, really quickly to get this thing to get released. It blows up really hard. And the reason I'm really proud of it is not because of how well it did. It's because, like, it kept the conversation going. People were, like, citing it in, like, articles. The Daily.esports cited an article, like, to briefly explain what Nintendo had done. A couple of people were, like, using it in, quote, like, replies to other tweets to say, yo, this is bad, like, to the Nintendo fan people who were, like, trying to defend the company and stuff. The one thing that really got me was a tweet from Jacob Mannion 4, and he responded to the video a couple days after it was released saying, first time ever tweeting, don't even play Melee, but damn, this needed to be shared. Hashtag free Melee. And it's
There you
like,
go.
if that can have that kind of effect on someone, I'm proud to have made something that could have done that and to have continued the conversation. So that would be my
Fantastic.
answer.
Yeah, sometimes it helps to be so lost in the sauce that, you know, you're able to like pull your head up for a second and explain it to people. So
Yeah.
good on you for that. All right, awesome sauce. Take us home.
For me, it's really hard to pick a favorite piece of content. For me, I always try to outdo myself with every video, and it's a very iterative process getting better at scripting and voiceovers, editing, and just general research, making sure I get my facts right. So, and being able to outdo myself, or trying to at least, is one of the most fun parts of making content for me. So I feel like as you know, the number of videos grow, my quality grows as well. And sorry, brain fart.
You're good.
The best video is the last one.
Yep.
Sort by
Video is always
recent
the last one.
sort
It's-
by
it's
recently
hard for me to
uploaded, and
pick
that's
a
the
single
answer.
one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right on.
The
All
last
right.
video.
All right. That just about brings us to time here, so we'll go ahead and sign off. Everyone get your plugs in. I'm The Cheat. You can find me at thecheat.com on Twitter. Look up Mikey Iosu, my name on YouTube. Yeah, watch my stuff. Anyway. Awesome Sauce, where can they find you?
Awesome Sauce on YouTube, spelled kind of funny. ASUMSAUS. Also on Twitter. Follow me there.
Alrighty. Dark Gen X.
Twitter.com/DarkGenX. I sometimes stream on twitch.tv/DarkGenXSmash. If you want all my links, go to darkgenx.com.
Ooh.
Sweet.
right on.
Ooh.
Hugs, I think they could just
Um,
Google Hugs86, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's Hugs86 on literally everything: Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. Especially check out YouTube. YouTube's blowing up. It's starting to grow. That shit ain't cheap. So if you can check it out, the content is amazing. I'm really happy with what Echo and I are doing with that. So I think you'll enjoy it. It's bringing a lot of eyes to my Twitch and my Twitter. So check that shit out.
Cool. And I am Turned Down for Walt on YouTube, Twitter, and now recently Twitch. So check that out for some live streams every other Thursday, I think is what I'm planning for the podcast, and maybe more.
Alrighty. Well, thanks so much for watching 5 Days of Melee here. Keep it tuned. We got plenty more stuff for you over the course of the week right here on twitch.tv/BTS Smash. See you, everyone.